Welcome to Hustle Radio, a podcast about the New York hustle mentality centered in the e-commerce industry, the official podcast of the E-Com Cooperative. Introducing your hosts, Frank Acosta and David Dayon.
What's going on? Frank, say hello from sunny DR.
What's up, David? How are you? Representing Dominican Republic today. This beautiful scenery. I'm on a mountain. There goes to show we have service on a mountain. And we always talk about the hustle. And even when I'm out here, we're doing these podcasts, man. So we're here.
Yes, Frank is looking for a pat on the back. Frank, thank you for making time even while you are traveling. Today is episode 10 of New York Hustle Radio, and we are joined by a very special guest. Frank, I'm going to let you say his name and the two companies that he's a part of, that he founded.
Yeah, well, he's growing too quickly for me. I recognize him as one company, so I'm going to say his first name, and then I'm going to let him say the rest. Yoni's with us today. He has an amazing company that a lot of people can use. If you're in the outsourcing world, I always say, David, that you bring the perfect people to this podcast because people need these services, man. People don't know they exist. People don't know who's leading in these industries, and we're bringing them to the table. So, Yoni, glad to have you on our podcast, and I'll let you talk about the other company because he's coming out with companies back after back, man.
So Yoni Kozminski, the founder of Escala as well as MultiplyMii. We talked about Escala last week. Frank, you missed that episode, but we spoke about Escala with the wonderful Lippy, and today we're going to lean a little more into MultiplyMii as well as Escala because Yoni is part of both of them. And without further ado, drum roll, please. How we doing, Yoni?
What's up, man?
Thanks for having me, boys. I wish everyone could get to hang backstage. It's just like the backstage anywhere. Before we go on, we're talking, we're hanging out, we're laughing. I mean, boys, it's great to be here.
Okay, we got the music going on. All right. No doubt.
We went old school today. No Drake, Frank. No Drake today.
I'm about to order a beer. There's no way I'm not. Yeah, ordering a beer right now. Let me tell you guys something. Yoni, you see how we can put titles at the bottom? So I know you're opening company after company. Like your third one, you're not gonna have space, bro. Like StreamYard will not allow you to put a third company on that row. So take it easier. Right?
Do you know what? The name's insignificant. It's what the collective of the team, what they deliver on. That's really where it's at. So I've probably got room for at least one more there. Wouldn't you say, Frank?
I love it. And we'll have to come up with a name that's obviously short, right? So it's going to be based on the StreamYard limitations, and it's going to fit perfectly. All right? It's going to be a 3-word name. 3-letter word.
I think when we get to that point, we just build a parent company, and it's part of this conglomerate. Not a sexy word, but whatever. It means multiple businesses.
So Yoni, I'm in Dominican Republic. We have David in New Jersey. Where are you located?
I'm right out of Tel Aviv right now, in the middle of the Middle East.
I love it. 3 different. Wow, man.
Frank, have you ever been to Tel Aviv or no?
For 24 hours.
For 24, I'll take it. I didn't know you've been to Israel, but the fact that you've been there, you got a little extra. You're going to get that pat on the back you were looking for making this episode work.
Dude, just take it easy. I was in Jerusalem for more than 24 hours. I can keep going. All right?
All right. Did you ever visit the Western Wall? That's the next question.
Yes. We're the famous praying wall. Yeah. Okay. Very short time. It was amazing. I love the culture. I love the country. It's great people. I didn't go specifically to Israel. I was on a boat that went to different areas. But I love it. Great times.
So I want to talk a little bit. I want to just jump right in, guys. I want to talk a little bit about Yoni, about the fact, something that I didn't even know. And I already know you, and I already knew about your companies. But this is something that only from I guess, reiterating the fact that you guys launched amidst the pandemic in early January 2020. That paired with the fact that, and this is something that, again, like I said, I knew this already. I saw this somewhere. There's a tagline that says you guys scaled up to over 130 people. And the bottom line is, you started amidst the pandemic. You started when a lot of people were losing their business, and you guys were able to grow from 4 people to 130 people. Forget about the fact that it was a small amount of time, very, very short, like not a lot of time to really even grow a business. But on top of that, it was amidst COVID, and I mean, that's like that like hit me in the face a little bit, because like I know clearly that you guys started in 2020 of January, and because that, again, we covered that with Lippy, and now I'm just reading, when I was preparing for the episode, 4 to 130, and it's just like slapped me in the face. I was like, wow, damn.
Yes, yeah. So I was actually reading that last night too, David. So funny, and the most interesting thing is, like, when everybody thought everything was going to go down, you guys quickly rise. And one thing is hiring 2 or 3 people. I also feel like I know a lot of companies that did prosper because of COVID, but in your case, it was to an extreme. And I definitely want to know, like even the thought process on that, right? Where you see you're hiring people, you're like, wow, man, we're hiring during a pandemic. We don't know what the next couple of months are going to look like. So it's also a big risk factor that you guys took. And I want you to elaborate on your thought process on that, because it's mind blowing.
Yeah. So thanks for calling that out. I guess, and I'm sure like you guys too, as entrepreneurs, and you guys have hustle radio here. You're grinding it out, you're working hard. You don't really stop to appreciate the moments of success. You're always thinking about how can I improve? How can I add more value? What's the next step? How do I do better? And so, when you actually hear it out loud, which is very rarely, it's like, shit, that's a lot of people, and that's a lot of growth. And I think on the back of that, firstly, going in, we built the company entirely remote from the onset. So the logic was even before COVID, we weren't looking to build an office, and that was because we play very simply on the geolocation-based arbitrage model. We leverage incredible talent without compromising on quality, simply out of the Philippines, where it's 50 to 80% less in terms of the cost of living. So that was the model. So pandemic or no pandemic, that's going to ring true, especially when you think about pandemic. People are looking to cut costs. So it was super slow for us, to be totally transparent. Like, pandemic hits, January, we win our first clients and nothing's going on. February, March, that's when the world really stopped. And it wasn't until June that things started to really pick up, when people sort of felt I don't know if you'd call it stability, but you definitely experienced sort of a mental shift. So, it was definitely challenging, but I think you can have sort of 2 schools of thought. You can look at, woe is me, the world is changing and I've got to stop everything. Or you can double down and say, you know what, I'm going to push forward. And I don't know if exploit is the right word I want to use here, but you can effectively double down on what you believe to be true today and what would be true tomorrow. And so we sort of took that mindset and we said, right, we'll be able to bring in the right people. Let's believe in the business plan. Let's believe in the process. Let's build for scale, and let's not let this sort of sink our ship. And that was what we did.
I love it.
So I happen, and we were talking about this with Lippy a little bit. I happen to think that both what the product that Escala, is delivering, and the product that MultiplyMii is staffing people with, both of those things are like the I would say the 2 most important things for scaling a business. You need to have the right staff, and then you need to have clear protocols and structures. Those 2 things are kind of like they're both very big endeavors to take on. You sort of have to be good at it in order to say, you have to be confident in the fact that, like, I can do this for a bunch of different people. I feel like, again, both of these things are something that you might have some piece of it that's rinse and repeat, but I also feel like you're going to have certain, like, everyone's different. Everyone needs different things. And although you can rinse and repeat it as much as possible, you're also going to have to customize it to specific needs, which just means that you have to be very on top of your stuff. And like I said, these are 2 very crucial pieces of the puzzle. And definitely commendable, but like, I feel like I want to know more about how, and I might know the answer to this already, but I want to just bring it out and hear it in your own words. I want to know, like, you know, I believe we covered with Lippy that Escala came second.
Yeah.
MultiplyMii came first. I think I mentioned. I think it, like, in the thought process, you might say before you go and hire a bunch of people, you might say, hey, I need to have the protocols figured out. I'm just curious, like, how the whole thing came about, why specifically in that order, and I just feel like there's something there, like a little bit more than maybe what is public knowledge, if you'll share it.
For sure. I'd be happy to share, and it's a great question, David. So, first, taking one step further back, we were able to successfully create the model that is MultiplyMii inside of an Amazon, an e-commerce business. So we were able to scale an Amazon, an e-commerce business from 2 to 5 million in 12 months. And what we effectively did in, let's call it the proving ground, or sort of the MVP, was that we found and built an incredible team. We had a recruiter, we had an ops manager, our COO today. She used to wrap companies up for sale. She used to build the systems that actually enabled that. I came from 10 years of creative advertising and digital marketing experience. So I'd grown up in a number of agencies working with Sony, MasterCard, Mercedes-Benz, Medtronic, seeing what high-level systems and process looks like from the eyes of a small to medium business. So the foundation was there. And the first step really was, how do we double down and do what we know we can do best? And so we took that model and we replicated it, realizing that it was going to have a lot of value for e-commerce sellers and beyond, and stumbled upon Escala. If I'm totally honest, I interviewed someone who is an ex-EY consultant, had spent 5 years there in process improvement. And I just said, listen, I know we need you. You're not going to be, she interviewed as a digital project manager. And I said, you're not going to be a digital project manager, but we're definitely going to bring you in. And so we deployed the first project and realized the intrinsic value that it created for us. And so then we evolved that. Now we have 25 management consultants. Most of them are ex-Ernst & Young, Accenture, Deloitte, but also all out of the Philippines. So we still leverage that cost arbitrage model. But I think if you want to look at, like, sort of the high level vision, at the base of every good business is great people. And so you need to have the people first. So building a high level recruitment function out of the Philippines was the catalyst that enabled us to staff Escala. And as a result, Escala's processes and systems are allowing MultiplyMii to grow to the next level. We're midway through a 20-week engagement with Escala inside of MultiplyMii, restructuring our org strategy, our SOPs, our training videos, and documentation. So if you want to think of the sort of the future state, the whole idea was to create long-term an incubator where we could build and grow businesses where we believe deeply in other founders, and we would render services for a minority stake in the business. And so the idea is, how do we actually deploy value-adding resources into businesses and have founders like the three of us who are just as passionate, if not more so, about what they do every day, and then removing the drag. And, two of the more complex aspects when it comes to scale, I think the systems that we build inside of Escala, we're so confident about the complexity that we share openly our methodology with anyone who wants to listen, because it's one thing to know how to do it, it's another thing to actually invest the time and implement. So MultiplyMii came first. The gap in the market was that there was a lot of people growing really, really quickly and didn't know how to build out proper systems. And so, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a genius and I've invented these concepts. Our offshore staffing has been around for probably 25, 30 years, and management consulting even more so. But what we've done is we've taken an innovative approach to both and focused on the e-commerce and Amazon space.
And I wanna just bring out my own point of view on that point. I thankfully have worked with a nice chunk of clients in my day, and I would say that a majority of them have had the idea to hire a VA, and I want to say almost exclusively, because there's a different level of management needed to train a VA and somebody who's not in your office. It's a tremendous a tremendous opportunity and a tremendous benefit to a lot of people, but also to certain people, they just only know how to train one-on-one in person or through protocols that they have. And I want to say that almost exclusively over the years, I've had clients that wanted to hire VAs, but they couldn't simply because they didn't know how to train them. And I want to like, although you're telling me that it's the opposite, I still feel that you might have even almost come upon the business of Escala while trying to scale up and hire more people. They're definitely connected. They definitely complement each other. They're definitely two things that I don't even know if anybody does what Escala does. And there's very few people offering what MultiplyMii does. And they're definitely very, very I'm very impressed with how much they complement each other and almost how beautiful you can button up. Like every single client that uses one service could use the other. Eventually, after you have all these employees, you could still use a tune-up and try to make the processes better. It's just it's like a nice, well-oiled machine that could potentially never stop running, and it's kind of beautiful. It's kind of like just even tapping into that part of it is just wow.
I appreciate it, and I feel like Frank, you'd appreciate too when we went through the branding exercise of MultiplyMii coming first, and then Escala, and so there was a lot of internal debate. Do we make it MultiplyMii Staffing and then MultiplyMii Consulting? Keep it under the same banner? But what we quickly realized, and I also come from, probably not to the same degree as you, Frank, but I also come from that world. So in my mind, the opportunity or the target market for Escala was typically going to be higher level people who had probably a few more gray hairs.
You guys nailed it. I love it. And I feel like as a business owner, right? David was touching on that people don't know how to train. Forget about not knowing how to train. We don't have the time for it, right? Like the time is where the essence is. And if I had something like this, because I built my team overseas, right? Half of my staff is overseas, and as I was building them, the headaches, everything I had to deal with, I going through finding who's good, who's not. If someone sends you their portfolio, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's accurate, right? People love to make it sound a lot better than it is. And I'll be very quick with what I'm saying because there's a lot of sound in the background. But I feel like if I would have had your company a few years ago, my life would have been easier. I'm pretty sure David could say the same. David also went through the process of hiring on his own. And it's more than not wanting to train them. Who has the time to even think about training them? So I love what you bring to the table, man.
Thank you. Yeah, and just to be clear as well, like when we're hiring too, we always put it in the hands of the business owner to make the final decision. Like our objective is to find highly trained people. We're even deploying, as a sort of a Q3, Q4 deployment is we're going to invest and double down on our ability to educate our clients on how to be better interviewers. So we do that lightly right now. I'd say we can do a better job. And like I said, always thinking, how do we improve? How do we add more value? We're going to have a whole education process so that you guys or whoever works with us becomes a better interviewer, because it's a critical skill. You don't have time to figure these things out and walking into an interview and not really knowing, like, how do I interview for a skill set that I don't have, for example? How do you even approach that equation? So I
have an interesting question for you. At what stage should a company be reaching out or like talking to you, right? I feel like everybody, not everybody thinks the same, right? To me, is like the first moment I needed one employee, I was already looking for the second one, right? But some people don't know when is the perfect time to like reach out. What portion of their business does the demand need it to happen for them to call you first? What's the process of getting themselves involved with you?
Yeah, so for MultiplyMii and Escala will be two different things, but considering that you've spoken with Lippy and had that conversation, I won't dig into that. What I'd say when we're looking at MultiplyMii is I think you need to go through a personal evolution yourself too. So like the MultiplyMii model is full-time talent. We hire people who are specialized in whatever role they're doing, PPC management, operations, customer support, graphic design, roles like that, but full-time roles. And so what I would say to anyone who's considering is, have you gone through the process where you've hired a VA and you've sort of understood that there's a baseline and you're getting all these little basic tasks off your plate? You sort of have to go. I feel like a lot of people have to go through that evolution to then say, right, that's good. It's saving me a little bit of time, but I'm not really growing at the level that I want. And so when you look to take that next step, I'm going to hire a professional with skills that I don't currently possess those skill sets. So let's say I've been doing all my stuff on Canva and I'm not already working with Frank and I want to build an in-house team. Then I would say, all right, then I'm going to find a graphic designer who can actually deliver on this work, for just an easy example. So I'd say that would be the logic or the consideration. Are you ready for a full-time employee?
I love it. I feel there's so much collaboration because in my world, Yoni, and you're going to enjoy this. In my world as a branding person, right? To me, is I come up with the concept, my team comes up with the big idea, and then I always encourage companies to hire a designer that can grab what we created and make it more external in the company, to go to expand it into things where they don't have to be calling me to recreate, right? So to me, it's like they hire me, I come up with the name, I come up with the logo, the big idea, the concept, and I do believe that there are good designers out there that can grab whatever guideline we created, and whether it's packaging, whether it's some social media post, I always encourage to have a designer that can grab what we did and continue with it. So, there's nothing like having somebody in-house.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And for sure, you come up, you probably have a brand refresh every 3 to 5 years, let's say, depending.
Yeah.
But for the daily use, having someone who can create all those social assets, be able to create the one pager and the email banners and templates and all that stuff. It's I mean, I've got 2 on my team.
And that's just one example, because that's the design world. And many other businesses, the same exact process, right? Where you need someone full time, because it changes the game. I remember my first full time employee. I felt like the heavens opened, right? Because it was like everything was on my shoulder. I was wearing multiple hats, and to realize that as a business owner, you always start with multiple hats, but the richness and the growth is where you start taking off a hat and placing it on somebody else, right? And I feel like growth comes with that, and it's so necessary, because I don't know what I would do without my team.
Amen. It's how you create the most possible amount of leverage, is to bring in smarter people than you and actually have them come up with the delivery and the ideas.
100%.
We were laughing earlier, like how many great people can you find to build these great companies? Because, I'm involved. I might have an idea, but my team is much more impressive than me. I'm just, one aspect of it and a small part.
Yeah, for sure. Yoni, what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, the best way to get me would be via my email. If you guys have tuned in to this, Yoni at MultiplyMii, spelled MII.com, or Yoni at We Are Escala. Pretty active on LinkedIn. I'm terrible at Facebook, so you can try me there, but don't hold your breath.
Yeah, LinkedIn is king. LinkedIn is king. David, you've been a little quiet on your end.
I was trying to set up the ending topic, which I wanted to plug our event that we have coming up this week, which is Sellers Dinner. So Yoni, I know you're not going to be able to make it. We're very upset about that. At least we're going to have to settle for having Lippy there.
He's the better one anyway.
Yeah, no. I'm saying last week he was very quick, because we had Frank couldn't make it last week, so we had Yoni from Getita step in as a guest host. So he was very quick to say, I was like, "Oh, Frank's not here." He goes, "Don't worry, we got a better one." So
to get back at him, I had the better one. I wanted Yoni, all right? So I was waiting for this one, and I hope you're watching, man. I have the better one now. How you like that?
All right, Frank, don't get a little salty now.
All love.
I want to plug this Sellers Dinner, event that we're having. I'm going to remove everybody for a second. Hold on. So let's talk about
here is that it's going down. we all back, boys?
We're back. We're back.
All right, not bad.
Tell us about the sellers dinner, mate. I know it's going on after ASGTG.
Yes, it's happening Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. in Brooklyn, at a wonderful restaurant. We actually originally planned on getting the second floor of this event, and we ended up going with. I was on mute that whole time.
Yeah, the whole time.
Okay. So basically, we have this the sellers dinner event, 8:30 Wednesday. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have about 80 people. We're renting the whole restaurant out. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, we're not giving too many details. We have this thing called Yoni. If you know, you know. If you don't, get in the know. Reach out if you're interested. Reach out to me, David. And yeah, it's going to be a crazy event. It's an exclusive event and definitely first of many.
Awesome. Well, it kills me that I can't be there, but I know we've got representation there with Lippy, so it's going to be great.
Love it.
Yes,
Love
it's
it.
going to be a lot of fun.
David, so what outro music you got going on? Yoni, thanks for showing up. Always good to have you guys. Good people, good energy. I love what your company's doing, and I'm crazy to see that third name pile up, man, because you guys are moving quickly.
Next month, mate, there's a new one coming.
I love it.
Keep the emperor secret. Why not? Why blow up my spot? Because we both got hot.
Guys, take care, man.
We got to play more old school rap here, guys. Thank you, Yoni.
Thanks for having me,
guys.
boys.
True fucking player.